Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today to learn more about intellectual property and copyright. As an online teacher, I know that this is a very important matter to you, so I'll do my best today to address everything that you need to know. First, we'll be looking at some of the misconceptions many of us tend to have about the way copyright works, and we'll squash those misconceptions once and for all. Then we'll take a look at how we can use fair use guidelines, copyright law, and Creative Commons to help us and not hurt us as we're building our courses. Have you ever heard that a work has to be published and registered to receive copyright protection? Well, I have, but that's totally incorrect. How about if a work doesn't have copyright notice, that little C with the circle around it, then it's public domain? Well, that's just plain wrong. Now, we've all been tempted to steal a thing or two from the internet, right? Well, don't. It's not public domain. How about work from another country? Nope, don't steal it. Okay, what about this example? I need something for an educational setting. Can't I just chalk it up to fair use guidelines and say I can use it without permission? But don't worry, we'll be talking about fair use guidelines later and how it can actually help you in a bit. Ooh, but what if my course is password protected? Nobody needs to know about my little indiscretions. Or do they? Well, I know. This game is getting a little bit frustrating, but you're still wrong. Password protected or not, we really aren't allowed to simply steal intellectual property for our own use. So now I know you're eager to hear about fair use guidelines and how it can help you. Use of copyrighted material is considered fair use as long as 3 of the 4 criteria I'm about to list are met. The first criterion states that the work is for non-profit educational purposes. The second criterion is that the nature of the work has to be appropriate. The third criterion is that you aren't using too big a portion of the work. The fourth criterion, and this is kind of a big one, is that your use of the work should not have a negative effect on the copyright owner's earning potential. If you aren't sure if it's okay to use copyrighted work based on the fair use guidelines, might be a good idea to ask for a second opinion. To make sure, on one hand, that you're not stealing people's work, and on the other hand, that you're not recreating the wheel when you don't have to, there are 2 acts that I want to touch upon today. Be careful. According to the Digital Millennium Act, if a copyright infringement is found in your course, your work may be blocked or taken down. Now, I know my administration would not be too thrilled with me if that were to happen, and I'm willing to bet that yours feels the same way. Alright, but not to worry though. In addition to fair use guidelines, we also have the TEACH Act that gives us online teachers more access to copyright materials. Let's see how. The TEACH Act gives you more freedom to use copyrighted material in your online class, but only under certain conditions. First and foremost, your school must be an accredited non-profit institution. It must maintain a published copyright policy, and it has to also have an ongoing copyright training program. If your school satisfies those 3 criteria, here are your guidelines according to the TEACH Act. You need to notify students of relevant copyright information, restrict digital material to students enrolled in your course only, Use digital material in the same manner as face-to-face classes, and use only essential portions of videos. You also need to make sure that you acquire all material lawfully and only digitize material that isn't already digital. Whew, that seems like a lot of rules, right? Well, if fair use or the TEACH Act aren't enough for you, I have one final gift for you today. And that's the news that you can download and use intellectual property for free from the Creative Commons website. What's the catch? No catch. Seriously. Just make sure you use the intellectual property in an approved manner and give credit where credit is due. There are 6 types of licenses to choose from. Some licenses allow for commercial use while others do not. Some licenses allow you to tweak the original work while others do not. And the ownership of some licenses will be passed on to derivative works while others won't. There are tons of things to choose from, so if you desire, just pick what you need and enjoy. Thanks so much for joining me today to learn more about intellectual property and copyright. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to email me or check out any of my sources. Happy online teaching!